Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday, April 11th. Thanks to Nate's macro in the PowerPoint presentation that makes sure the date's always correct. Today is the community meeting.
Always says today.
It always says today. I know. I actually, that has been such a lifesaver because I always was forgetting to update the date. So welcome. Meetings are recorded. Of course, a couple etiquette things. Introduce yourself, where you're from before speaking. Mute unless you're speaking. You don't have to come on camera. Rowdy people will be removed. You guys know the deal. You're here. You know about the password. There will be a password, not next week, but the following week as well. So just in case you were curious. And with that, some announcements. Nate, do you want to kick us off with Slack?
I do. After great effort, toil, and probably a few long nights and tears and AppSec reviews and stuff like
Lots of
that.
tears.
Yes, lots of tears. We are on Slack. Let me copy this link right here. Give it to me. Copy. Why is there no copy? All right. Hang on. I'll figure this out.
It's okay. I got you. You cover it.
Okay. So yeah, we've got a Slack workspace now. So if you want to join up and either talk about OpenSearch, ask questions about OpenSearch, offer to take people through training sessions or whatever, we've got I think there's about 250 people in there now. We welcome all of you, even if it's just for feedback or criticism. Some people are airing the grievances in there, which is also another good form of feedback, separating the emotions from it, because those things are usually born of frustration, and those people are probably need help. And it's all, everything that's coming from it so far is good, and I'm happy that it finally happened, because it's a content goldmine. People are in there talking about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway so far is just how many people expect because a lot of the Elasticsearch stuff was compatible with the one line. A lot of people expect it's also compatible with the two line, which a lot of people are finding out the very hard way that it is not. But
yeah, major
awesome.
version change. Semver, yes.
Semver, yes. Super important. Also, we are moving the 2.7 release back. So it has been pushed back to 425. Code free starting on 417. So if you have not gotten your changes in, make sure you do. Make sure your documentation's there as well. That's another one. We just want to try and keep up with docs as soon as we are making changes. So get that stuff in. ML model status. Is that just a blog? Is that a blog, Nate?
Yeah, I did regurgitate some of the blog content in there.
Nice.
Just in case anyway, because it's an experimental feature. Some people don't enable it, and sometimes it's not like immediately clear. There's no big marquee banner that says, turn on this feature. So I noticed there's a playground link where people could just click on it and look. So I wanted to share that. And if it's something you like, we have a little documentation entry on how to enable the experimental feature in your own deployments.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool stuff. I know it's always good to play with those experimental features.
Yeah.
And leave feedback, even if it's, feedback in Chime or in GitHub or whatever.
Hopefully in GitHub, please not Chime. But
yeah, preferably GitHub.
Yeah, actually Slack. Yeah, that's a good point. Or especially if you have issues getting it running, we want to know about those and flesh those out as soon as we can before we flip it to GA. Also, super big shout out to Hannah, who rolled out our next project newsletter. It is chock full of like all the different stuff going on all over the place in OpenSearch. So make sure to check that out. I dropped the link there. Active issues, good first issues, events that we're going to be at coming up, which actually we'll cover this now. We are going to be at KubeCon. So if you're going to KubeCon in the EU, come by, say hi. There's going to be a ton of wonderful people at our booth. Some of the guys from Opster are going to be there. Also, actually, is anyone else going to be at KubeCon EU? They want to shout out their company? Like Ivan or Logs?
Out loud or in chat? Make yourself
either way.
So I'm not going to be there, but
Ah,
folks from Logs will be there. So
very cool.
Also,
I'll definitely send them your way for sure.
Yeah, cool. Also, we've got Haystack coming up. I know the folks from Bonsai are going to be there. We will be there as well. Of course, there are no booths, so nobody's doing booths there. But come by and say hi. We will talk your ear off about OpenSearch. And there's going to be a Birds of the Feather dinner, which is going to be OpenSearch and Bonsai. So also attend that if you are interested. Uh-huh. Yeah. And then Open Source Summit North America, we also have a booth there. More details to come, I think. And generic placeholder once again for OpenSearch Con. So OpenSearch Con is coming up. We now have a hotel, and there will be a doc coming out shortly, a link that you can go and click on rather than just coming to these meetings and hearing about it week over week. So that is coming up very shortly.
we swear it's going to happen. It's
It,
not vaporware. There will be OpenSearchCon 2023.
yeah, no, what was that? I'm just gonna stop trying to guess its name. Firefest or whatever. Yeah, it will have there will be a place. So today we were going to be talking about these items. However, our presenters are not in just yet. So, I'm gonna dive into Josh's topic because I can actually cover some of this. Um, they're looking to do more out of the box dashboards. What these are using the simple schema for observability, which got abbreviated to SSFO, much to many people's dismay. But and what they're trying to find is, what sort of out of the box dashboards would you be interested in with OpenSearch? Do you want to see Kubernetes dashboards? We know a lot of these different log types. They're common, they're used from place to place, and most people try and track just about the same stuff with Kubernetes. You want to check your pod status. You want to check on, availability. Is something in, a boot cycle or reboot loop. So just curious to hear people's thoughts on what dashboards you could see use for right out of the box with OpenSearch.
That's awesome because there's so many widely used applications that no one changes the log formats on, and so there's just all of that data is just ripe for the picking.
Yeah, Amitai, what's going on?
I was gonna suggest maybe is this an open question or are you going
Yeah.
over the event?
No.
I think that an out of the box dashboard that would people are running the service or they're running the application. I think the first dashboards would be for OpenSearch. Like the state of the nodes, state of the cluster management, what's going on within the cluster in terms of memory, etc.
Yeah. No, actually, I think that's a good.
Yeah, talk about low hanging fruit with high return value. Self reflection. That's the heart of observability. So I think that's a darn good idea.
Yeah. Actually, also, Josh just hopped on the call. So, Josh, we are diving in right now on out of the box dashboards. I very vaguely framed it, but yeah, would you mind giving some additional context on that and what the look is or what the ask is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you all remember, for those of you who were able to attend, you all remember the proof of concept that we developed with Calyptia as well as World Tech IT, where we demonstrated this concept of being able to take a data source. At that point, it was Nginx. We enriched it through the ingestion pipeline through FluentBit. And then within that, we had a kind of agreed upon schema, which was the integrations framework that we put together. And based off of that, we had a dashboard that World Tech IT had donated that was an Nginx dashboard. And so the concept is you have data that's coming from data sources. It gets enriched, by your agents or your ingestion flow overall to indicate what the data source is. And you have a schema that's based on simple schema, in this case, simple schema for observability. And the data, when it hits on the OpenSearch side, we have a dashboard which you can install, which is a pre-canned dashboard. And that dashboard autofills with the data that's coming in from your ingestion pipeline. And it does so based on the simple schema format. Are there any questions about that before I go any farther? I think most of the folks that are here, it looks like they're here, were present for that demo, but I'm happy to.
Do you mind introducing yourself, Josh?
Absolutely, yeah. My name is Joshua Bright. I'm a product manager within the OpenSearch project.
I dropped the link to that Nginx dashboard demo, which I think was awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of the overall direction that we're moving. We did an ingestion survey this past summer where we understood what types of agents folks are using within their ingestion pipeline. And there was still a considerable amount of folks that were still using Beats agents. And one of the things that people really enjoy about Beats agents is this concept of pre-canned dashboards associated with the Beats agent. So we got pretty good information of what Beats agents people are interested in and continue to use within the community. But I think what would also be good is to understand, are there any other pre-canned dashboards based on data sources that the community would like to see created kind of outside of just Beats agents? Are there other data sources that are more specific than just the Beats agents that people are interested in? And then, of course, I'll do the shameless plugging for the side community meetings where we're having conversations about integrations. Those happen every 2 weeks. So the next one is actually on 4/20.
Awesome. Did you catch the awesome suggestion, right? I think it was right before you got in. The heart of observability is kind of self-reflection. So I think that the immediate low-hanging fruit for canned dashboards would be for the OpenSearch instance that you're visiting.
Yeah. Okay. So as in something that would talk to the cluster health? Is that just to make sure that we're all on the same page?
Yeah, like maybe a map of nodes and their node type and how many shards they have, and any kind of data that is representable with a dashboard. Even a list of indices would help, because people get a little intimidated by that dev console straight out the gate, especially
yeah,
the command line or the extra query parameters to make them verbose and all that stuff. I think we would much rather visit a dashboard.
Yeah. Cool.
Question to Amitai. Do you guys export your metrics to like Prometheus, or like where are you guys looking at right now? And would that be kind of like an expected way for metrics at least to make their way in with canned dashboards?
So currently, yes, we export to M3DB actually, and then we use we use the application. We eat our own dog food, so we're going to use our metrics platform for that. But I don't think that it has to be some Prometheus. It could be also a very short, like last day of data, or it could be something that's kind of bare minimum, the same kind of thing you get from the AWS console, where you can see sort of, a graph that doesn't really give you all the opportunities you get, but it still gives you enough information about the health. because we know that managing time series data on OpenSearch is not really a great idea. Also, there's the observability plugin, which may enable that to be possible with Prometheus.
Actually, in the observability panel, we have those the metric types with the gauges that will read metrics. Those would also be nice can things too. And in fact, Josh, that's a good distinction. Like, will this be strictly dashboard views, or will any of the components in the observability panel get pulled into the mix here?
These are just dashboard components at the moment, but there's an opportunity. With schema, there's other things that we can generate in terms of artifacts. So it really opens the door for lots of tighter integrations.
Yeah, because the data's there. It's just a matter of representing it.
Exactly. So we want a baby step with dashboards out of the gate. But yeah, we definitely see other saved objects. We see alerting functionality, anomaly detection functionality, anything that can hang on top of the schema and take advantage of what is a known data definition can benefit from this.
It might even be cool to latch on to the experimental feature for displaying the ML model health and throwing up some, whatever metrics you can gather from that too.
Yeah.
Does anyone else use, like, I mean, there's tons of common web servers we could gather stats for, Nginx, Apache, Node.js. Even the local operating system could probably have some good stats to measure too. Like, I know I've played a little bit with FluentBit's systemd plugin, and so that kind of flings all of the systemd journaling logs over to the OpenSearch instance. It might be kind of cool to see that turned into the simple schema and some dashboards put up on that, because right now I'm playing with an anomaly detection workflow where it just kind of counts the number of log lines in the SSHD journal, and just kind of bases activity on that and throws some anomalies if there's a whole bunch. So that systemd plugin might be pretty cool also.
Also, Josh just dropped in the chat a refresher of which agents are used in the community a lot. I'm just reading over those as we speak.
Sometimes it's easier to recognize things than kind of recall stuff just out of the box.
Actually, I think Kafka is a great call out here. I know it shows up a little bit low in the list, but I've seen so many people that are using Kafka in their pipeline in one way or another, whether it's an input to OpenSearch or whether they're, ingesting from OpenSearch and then, doing transforms and things like that. So, well, Josh, do we have a place where we're collecting some of this? Is it just on the repo for, actually, where would the best place to be to leave these after the fact?
Yeah, after the fact, the suggestion would be to add it to, at this point, the integrations is within the observability repo. So adding it to the observability repo would be perfect. In the future, it will grow over into its own repo.
Awesome. I'm going to drop that link.
Maybe an RFC in there that people could thread with their responses.
All right, with that, if anyone also has any, general Q&A questions, happy to field those now. Questions about release, status, what I had for breakfast, probably not so much.
Dude, I eat my kids' leftovers now, and it's like I've lost a couple of pounds just subsisting on what my 4-year-old won't eat off his plate, which is most of everything.
That's fair. Cool. There we go. I'm going to paste the observability link in the chat as well for anyone who does not have it already. Here we go. Josh added the RFC for integrations. Open Q&A.
I had something to kick us off with open Q&A.
Yeah.
And I asked about this in the Slack channel where, I haven't been a developer advocate for long enough to really consider myself a super master expert in OpenSearch. And one of the things I was thinking is that I love video games, especially roguelikes. And so I'm kind of on this search for huge data sets about video games, whether it's the internal content of the game or competitive stats or anything like that that might be ingestible and easy to play with and make visualizations. Like I know there's probably like some Magic the Gathering deck information out there. Where people are making word clouds about the most common words in the Magic the Gathering deck card titles and stuff like that. But if anyone else is a big video game fan and encounters any of those huge data sets for us to play with, that's usually what kind of stops me. I can be pretty arbitrarily creative with the data, but finding the data is usually the hard part for me.
Kaggle and Hugging Face both have large data set indexes, and I've used them for demos before, which is great. I don't know if they'll have specifically video games, but they get pretty close.
Oh boy, Dave Lago, did I hit on a hobby for you?
Yes, yes, you did. Well, I recently got into it. With my kids, and we're now completely obsessed about Magic the Gathering, and we play Commander. And there's this website called edhrec.com, and basically you pick your commander, and then it analyzes all the decks that are out there that use that as a commander, and it tells you which cards go well with it and have synergies with it based on just analyzing that data set. In terms of the data sets that we deal with here, I don't think that qualifies as a huge data set, but nevertheless, you mentioned Magic the Gathering. It's like, oh, well, that counts.
That's awesome. Yeah, that might be fun to play with. And I recently got obsessed with this open source game called Cataclysm. It's like a roguelike tile-based, which really brings me back to all the days of playing Rogue and NetHack back in the, let's call it the late 80s, so I don't age myself. If you think of anything cool, drop it in the Slack, and we'll wax on some fun project about it.
Actually, I'm gonna pause real quick because a question was dropped in the chat. Are there any example sites where OpenSearch is used for text search rather than structured searching? John, do you mind expanding on that? When you say text search, so you're thinking like full text search in like a book or something along those lines, PDFs? I know actually I've talked with the guys over at Apache Tika. Apache Tika guys have a really great demo of OpenSearch Tika, and they scrape in PDFs, and they actually do like research analysis on these research papers, which is just really interesting to me. So yeah, technical documentation, HTML5. Awesome. Yeah, so actually, and another group that has a couple demos with OpenSearch as well is Haystack. Haystack does generative answering off of like document corpuses. So they'll take, they could take technical documentation or just any documentation. You can push it into OpenSearch, whether it's, with like a BM25 index or an index using BM25 or a vector index, and then they can actually extract answers out of that, which is phenomenal. So I'll drop those in the chat.
It's actually pretty sweet because it kind of works the opposite of a search engine where you find some piece of statement or data and then it generates the question that would lead to that. And it's just, that blows my mind. It takes people way smarter than me to figure that out. So I wonder if they actually like parse out all the text information from the HTML5, or is the markup important on what you search, or is it truly just the text that's wrapped up in all of these markup tags?
Yeah, that's a really great question. John, any thoughts there on whether like the structure of the document is important? I think for Tika, they index the metadata, but they don't keep like they break it into paragraphs, and those paragraphs are portions, but I'd be curious.
Actually, not familiar with Tika. Can you drop some science on that for me?
Yeah, so Tika is basically just a PDF text parser. So there's a real problem with actually pulling data out of PDFs and just getting the text, because PDFs use all sorts of like weird formatting and stuff like that. And it's not actually standardized, even though it's kind of a standard. So Tika kind of accounts for some of that, all of the rendering stuff that happens underneath. And basically, yeah, helps you pull out, the text, the metadata, what page number it was pulled from. Trying to think of what other things. But yeah, so it's I think they also do other document types. So I think they do like Word. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see. And of course, it's an Apache project. It's written in Java, if I'm not mistaken. But I think there are other like projects that wrap it. So if you want to use it with Python, I think there's a Python wrapper, which is pretty cool. PowerPoint, XLS, PDF as well. Also, floor is still open for anyone else with general questions. Otherwise, we might be wrapping up early. Oh, here we go. Another question in the chat. Is there any more ML algorithms that might be included in future releases? That's a really great question. So when you say like machine learning algorithms, are you talking about just like KNN and ANN, or in particular like the embeddings? Yeah, let's check our roadmap actually. I am not the expert on that, but I am sure we have our roadmap, which would. And let me drop that link as well for those who don't know. No worries. Not everyone wants to come on audio or has to.
Yeah, no worries. Present yourself to your own level of comfort. Come as you are. It's totally okay.
This is Joshua, product manager at OpenSearch project. I know forecasting is planned in the coming releases, so you can look out for that.
Actually, that's a really good point, and that's one that's particularly hard to implement on your own. That was one of the ones that I used a lot when I was doing like Power BI and things along those lines. That is my filler statement, things along those lines. Regardless, so let's see. Actually, and speaking of using ML, we're going to be enabling integrations with Spark, which that actually will give you access to a whole other ecosystem of, ML algorithms and libraries and things like that. And in particular, just a different way of processing it. It's model access control. So this is more about access to the ML models. Search pipeline.
So what the product manager who is responsible for ML modeling is, I don't know that Dylan is present today, but happy to put the right people in contact with the right people on our side. Kind of fundamentally, I think where the ML longer term strategy is towards extensibility and connecting in with outside areas such as popular places like Hugging Face, and so we want to enable folks to take advantage of the modeling kind of environments that they're used to, and make sure that it has a really great integration with OpenSearch instead of trying to invent a new ML environment within OpenSearch necessarily.
Yeah, actually, and that's really key. And the talk of extensibility is one of the big things that's going to be like a theme for this year and probably the next several years, because right now we have plugins, but plugins have to be rolled, in with your OpenSearch instance. And extensibility is going to essentially allow you to add things in kind of on the fly. For dashboards, there's going to be like and actually I think for OpenSearch as well, there's going to be a extensibility, like, I don't want to say library. What is the right word for that?
Catalog?
Catalog. There we go. That's a nice word. Yeah, catalog, where you'll be able to like go and pull things in on the fly. So depending on what you need, and then it'll work in the background to roll that out to your cluster. So extensibility is going to be huge. So keep your eyes open. I dropped a couple links that might be interesting as well.
I'm looking forward to it, because I like to do stupid stuff with plugins. Like I want something that shows reindeer all over my OpenSearch dashboard during Christmas time or something, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Easter eggs, Easter bunnies.
That's funny. But yeah. And actually, if there's anything you would like to see as well, please leave a comment. We have the what is it? ML Commons actually would probably be the place for that. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Nope, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, so let me get that ML Commons. So yeah, this is where you'd want to leave an issue if there's something in particular looking for, like someone I think in one of the earlier meetings, like way earlier OpenSearch meetings, mentioned they're like, oh yeah, we need pre-filtering for like KNN. It's really important. So that actually got implemented and rolled in a couple releases ago. So anything you want to see, let us know. We're here for you. Or put it in Slack. Any other questions today? I've actually been really happy that we've had this time. I feel like a lot of times we don't necessarily get as much to the question and answer portion because it's, there's a lot of presentations and things like that.
Those greedy presenters taking up all of our community meeting time.
Dare they show us their features? Nate, you go ahead. I will let you do the pitch.
Well, we're always happy to share our presentation time, and there's lots of opportunities to go out to conferences and whatnot. If you end up with a presentation and you'd like some help with it, or if you'd like to give demos or anything, please reach out to David or myself.
Yeah, or even at it. I put the link up there. We plan these all in the forum, so check out a future meeting and just say, hey, I'd like to present on this, and we will help you. And with that, we're going to just wrap up here. Thanks, everyone, for coming. We'll hang around for the next 20 minutes or so, but...
one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, I made a terrible mistake this weekend.
Oh, no.
I put a dartboard on my ceiling, and it made me throw up.
Okay.
Did that scan? Does that scan? Did I get it?
But
Yep. It's okay.
Let it process. Come back next community meeting, and we'll have some good laughter.
I appreciate that, Nate. Every week. Thanks, all.
I tried.
Thanks, everybody.